I'm already here, camera's already up. Let's keep this rolling. Let's talk about Peerspace today. I'm gonna give you my experience with Peerspace on my luxury penthouse property that I live in here in Dallas. I've been running it for about a couple months now, and I've had some very unique experiences and some things you guys absolutely have to know if you're gonna be using Peerspace as a secondary or main source of income for your property. My name's Sean Rocky Geach. I'm a short-term rental expert, and Peerspace is about as short as it gets. Let's jump in. Welcome back, Airbnb family. Wait, hold on. I gotta cut that out. We are no longer Airbnb automated here on the channel. Again, guys, my name is Sean Rocky Geach. Airbnb has asked me to disbrand my channel from Airbnb, so you're gonna see that changing here over the next week. So we're gonna talk a lot about all things short-term rental. We're talking about VRBO, Peerspace. We're probably gonna talk about Booking.com because it is a necessary evil in this education conversation, and I have a surprise for you, which I will unveil in my next video. Huge project. Maybe it'll even be Netflix worthy. I guess we'll find out. Holler at me, Netflix. But anyway, guys, Peerspace, this is super important. Peerspace is this interesting type of platform where you can rent your space out by the hour to professionals, either for meetings, which I haven't had a single one of those yet, but videographers and photographers, which is almost all of my bookings, and then sometimes for events. The strongest selling point for my penthouse is this big open living room with a skyline view and floor to ceiling windows, which makes it really great for doing power shots. I get people who do corporate headshots, high-level CEO interviews, like high production value video stuff, bridal shoots, and some really cool abstract concept stuff, which is fun. And then actually a lot of music videos. I've actually had a lot of music videos in my space, and this is mostly what I'm getting. Now, I have had inquiries for birthday parties for high-end individuals like 50-year-olds who are willing to spend $3,000 a night on a space, and I actually have nailed future $3,000, $4,000 per night bookings for events, but they just haven't happened yet because people book that stuff far in advance. One of the first things I planned on telling you that you need to know about Peerspace is they do not have an ability for you to change your prices. There is not a calendar function where you can go into certain days and set a different hourly rate for those days. This is one of the very first things that once I think Peerspace really gets their code together, that I'm going to really inspire them to try to change. Now, you could make separate instances of the same listing and block one of your calendars for anything far future, and only for like the next 3 or 4 days you could have like a special rate, but always block off your weekends and always block off anything far future. I might test that. But right now, it's not a big enough deal to me because I still like living here. I don't want to have this place full all of the time, especially at a discount, so I don't do that. Another thing that I want you to know is Peerspace is coded exactly like a programmer would code a website, a web platform, an application, which means that you need to think like a programmer to get some stuff done. And also, if you use the Airbnb platform, you're gonna be familiar with what's called an alteration request. So this alteration request is the fun one. You can alter a booking on Peerspace, but it's not in the same format that you would typically expect to do so if you have any experience in short-term rentals. It would be more so appropriate to call it an overwrite. You can overwrite a reservation or a booking. So how to accomplish this on Peerspace is you click on a booking, you go to manage booking, and there should be a button to send someone a custom offer. That custom offer, you'll change the rate, you'll change the hours, something like that, and it will give them a chance to accept it. That new custom offer will overwrite any previous booking that they have. If you do send someone a custom offer, it has to be for a booking that's at least 2 hours into the future. If it's not within 2 hours, or if that 2-hour window crosses, that becomes unalterable now. So they provide this 2-hour lead time window. So anybody who books with you, they have to book at least 2 hours in advance. So on Peerspace, you're never going to get a booking for 15 minutes from now because somebody wants to do a photo shoot at your place. You don't have to be at the ready like that, but somebody could book same day for 2 hours from now, and you should be prepared for something like that. Now, request for payment. You need to understand how to do request for payment because this happens so frequently. I would say that 80% of all of my bookings on Peerspace run over on time. They pay by the hour and then they go longer. Now, you can, in your booking rules, inside of your house rules, you can write out how this is supposed to go. You could declare that overtime is going to be at a rate of 1.5 times the price point that you charge per hour. And I'm going to start doing that. Me, just to be a swell guy, I've kept it at the same hourly rate, but this does run a risk. I actually had 2 reservations collide into each other once. So because of that, I am going to put a 1.5 X per hour for my overtime moving forward. Now, Peerspace, they have a funny way that they go about collecting money for overtime. If you're not charging more than an hour and a half of overtime, I think they're just charging the guest's card, like without asking. They're being rather brave, where a short-term rental platform would try to get the guest to understand and comply and pay it. I think Peerspace is just like YOLO on their card. So that happens. Now, there are other things that you can charge people for, and this is something that happens only with my music video people. There are brackets of price that you can put. You can have for your listing, I'm $100 per hour. But if you bring more than 5 people, I'm gonna charge you an extra $25 per hour. If you bring more than 10 people, I'm gonna charge you an extra $50 per hour. You can do something like that. And Peerspace shows these brackets. So when somebody's shopping for your listing and they don't wanna pay a bunch of money up front, right? They're maxing out their budget. Well, if you have 1 to 6 people is a certain price, they might say that they are bringing 6 people when really they're gonna bring 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. My very first booking, they said they're gonna bring 6 people and they brought like 12 or 13. And I did not know how to charge them for it, so I didn't end up charging them for it. And this is where you need to come in and be careful. You should have a camera, like a blink camera. And so far, I don't see any language on Peerspace that states that you're not allowed to have a camera inside your home or a camera in front of your home. But what you need to do is you need to have a camera. And you're gonna turn that camera on to record at intervals, right? So I would like turn it on, say halfway through a booking and just let it run. And I'm looking for 2 things. I'm looking to identify how many people are actually in the home, and then I'm identifying whether or not they stay late. And this is a way that you can automate a part of your Peerspace where you might still wanna be involved for the arrival, just when you're new. That's something that I did for probably the first 5 Peerspace bookings, but now I just have everything set up. Concierge sends people up and they come in and I leave them a key and I give them instruction. And that's gone well. So I've actually automated my Peerspace check-in and check-out process. But in order to automate if people are going over on time or going over on people, I'm using a blink camera. And if you see that somebody's claiming that they're bringing 6 people when you have a price bracket of 1 to 6, or they're bringing 10 people when you have a price bracket of 1 to 10, if that price changes at 11 people, you should expect that they're going to bring 11 people. And you could proactively talk about this. And the times that I've proactively talked about this, they decide not to go over on people. But the times I don't talk about it, they bring more people and I charge them for it. So choose your path. Do you go for the extra money, or do you like let them know that the reason why it's like that is because you're gonna spend more money if you bring another person? So that's your call. I did list my listing to be able to do meetings, or what's called an offsite. And I had one little slip up here that didn't go bad, but I had to cancel a reservation because the lady misunderstood. I have a rate for offsite meetings. We're talking about sit down with some laptops during lunch with whiteboard kind of thing. But then the events one is for like holding a mixer. A lady who runs a real estate company wanted to run like kind of a networking social, and she decided to call it an offsite. And she was trying to save essentially $200 an hour by running an offsite instead of running an event. And so the time that I had, only time that I've ever had somebody book an offsite, I thought it was peculiar because she was in real estate. I'm like, hey, what are you using it for? And I told her, you actually selected the wrong item. That type of an event costs more money. I'm gonna cancel this. And her budget was not enough for what she was trying to pull off, but she actually went back and found a little bit more money and paid a little bit more and rebooked. So that was kind of cool. I would recommend that if you don't just have a separate office room, that you just give that offsite space just for the room, then don't list an offsite as an option. Just stick to photography and events. Yes, this is a big one. I forgot, but this is gonna be a big one that I wanted you to know. There's a cleaning fee on Peerspace, but I don't think you should charge it. And the reason why I don't think you should charge it is because if you're trying to use the cleaning fee to influence how much you're collecting for a single hour booking, or 2-hour booking, 3-hour booking, a lot of like how people in a short-term rental website would use a cleaning fee to kind of discourage a one-night stay. The same thing that you're trying to like make sure that people pay a little extra for 1 hour. Because of how frequently people go over on time, if you had a $100 cleaning fee and then you're charging $50 per hour, instead of just charging like say $150 per hour and then giving a discount for multiple hours or something. Well, if somebody stays over on the first hour, they paid $150, but then they only, you can only charge them an extra $50 for overtime, which was unauthorized extension. So I would instead just have $150 per hour as my rate without the cleaning fee, and then just do I put a discount for longer use of the space, and just do that instead. And so that way, if somebody does hit you with some overtime, which happens so frequently, you can bill more on your overtime. So I really don't think that you should use a cleaning fee. And honestly, with these video shoots, photo shoots, people are leaving this place in perfect condition. I think that by abandoning the cleaning fee, you might actually get people who are like, hey, cool. Like, I don't make a dirty place anyway. I think it's super nice that they're not charging a cleaning fee. Now, I will say, Peerspace alone won't make my penthouse profitable. I'm not getting enough $1,000 per day bookings to make like 18 or 20 grand on this penthouse. I'm not making it. But there are other websites like Gigster. You can have your own like Instagram account, and other stuff like that. I've been favorited so many times that I believe Peerspace actually sent me an email. I'll try to find it. They gave me recommendations on other things that I can do to promote my space. So I really think that that is a valid part of this. I met a girl who ran a Peerspace in Addison. She was hosting a painting event. And so on one of the nights that she wasn't booked, she did this Christmas painting thing where we all painted like the Grinch and charged for tickets. It was her Peerspace, and her friends did this paint along kind of thing. And that's how they utilized the space during a day that they weren't gonna get a booking that evening. So you can get creative and find other ways to utilize your space to stay booked every day or during the middle of the day if you're only getting like 2 or 3 bookings a week. And they tend, like for us, or for me, my penthouse, the skyline is why people book it. They want the skyline at night to shoot their shots. So if I'm trying to put this full-time on Peerspace like I didn't plan to live here, and I'm not getting bookings Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, stuff like that, I could host events and sell tickets for those events and really start to push it, and then get on other platforms like Gigster, Facebook Marketplace, have an Instagram account that really pushes and promotes it, stuff like that. So I would diversify if you wanna go heavy on the hourly rental instead of the accommodation. If your space is a short-term rental, and then you're also using Peerspace, and you're in a city like Los Angeles where you maybe get, say, 90 days a year that you're allowed to do short-term rentals, well, Peerspace doesn't count as an accommodation. So if you're using Peerspace a lot and you're making money day in, day out on Peerspace, you still get 90 days to do short-term rental stuff where somebody pays for a few days at a time or a week at a time. So I think it's a great way to mix in, especially in heavily regulated short-term rental market. So take that to the bank. Now, this is a young industry. This peer-to-peer version is a young industry. Studios have existed a long, long time. If you're gonna start doing like competitor research to try to determine what will perform well, you'll get some information on Peerspace. You can like search around and see what's got a lot of reviews and kind of see what products are being offered. And you'll notice that having like backdrops and having big windows and stuff like that, those tend to do well. And being affordable, where you can charge a good affordable hourly rate for photographers, is great too. So if you can have a good core neutral product at a low price, you'll do really well on Peerspace like as a full time. But if you really want to see what that looks like and you can't find anything in your area on Peerspace because maybe your area is too small, go and look for like photography studios. Go look for regular photography studios that are like natural light studios and like little warehouse spots that people use for photography, and start to ask yourself how those businesses operate, because really that's the space that you're getting into. You are facilitating the use of square footage just like a short-term rental, but the use is different. People aren't going there to drop their bags and sleep and watch TV and cook. They're going in there to very quickly try to get some form of artwork done, photography, video, stuff like that. And if you can facilitate the efficient use of your square footage to get good quality video or photo, then people will book, they'll come back, word of mouth will be a big part of your rebooking, stuff like that. And the cool thing about rebooking, if you have generated direct leads, like locals may come and use your space every week. Well, over time, you won't need to use Peerspace if you trust people, and Peerspace doesn't insure your situation anyway, so Peerspace isn't really protecting you from these people stealing or doing damage, by the way. So staying on Peerspace isn't going to be your long-term plan anyway, because they don't insure you. And I think that if Peerspace would change one thing to make sure that they keep facilitators like us booking through their platform so they can get their rip, they should have some form of insurance policy to protect us against damage or theft, right? But since they don't do that, you can develop a list. Anybody who comes into your studio or comes to use your space, you can get their direct information and you can retarget them off of Peerspace. You cannot on the Peerspace platform say, hey, go and book with me, like somewhere else. I know we're talking here in Peerspace, but let's abandon them. That'll get you in trouble. But if you have a relationship with somebody who's capable of booking your space, you are not contractually obligated to repeat your business on Peerspace. And they charge like 25% or something like that. And since that percentage is so high and they're not insuring the bookings, I think your plan, if you do something like rent by the hour, should be to go direct as soon as possible. And another tip to consider, if you're gonna use a platform like Peerspace, if you're gonna rent by the hour for photo shoots and video shoots, you need to make sure that you have interesting stuff in your space that can be utilized. You want spots where you can create looks, stuff in the corner. You know, you want to be able to create versatility and change it up. Otherwise, you are really, that's if you're not doing that cheap, neutral, low cost per hour. My place is luxury, right? So I've got a grand piano in the middle. I've got a 10-foot tall piece of artwork that I actually painted myself. The floor plan is open so people can get around. I mean, I've got $45,000 rocks sitting right there that people can take photo video with. I mean, I've got Venus de Milo statues, Neptune, all sorts of other stuff. And of course, the skyline and the big windows. I'm providing C-stands, I'm providing lighting, all the things that people might need. If you want to get a good hourly rate, you're gonna have to up your game. I'm gonna link my previous Peerspace video in the description in case this is your first time catching a Peerspace video with me, because I put a lot of basic tips in that last video. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for this rebranding. Like I said, this YouTube channel is now gonna be named after your boy, Sean Rocky Geach. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the other side.